Wow, was there red in the market today or what? Our MSTY came down along with just about every other stock out there. We're going to take a look at that and the SPY just to get an overall feel of what happened today. Hello my friends, this is Legend. So today the market fell hard, right? And it was mostly off the news of the possible increase in tariffs on China. And as you can see, the market just dropped, right? I mean, we can see our MSTY here was actually moving up at the first part of the day, as it did open at 1365 and yesterday's close was 1357. So we were already moving up, and most of the market was moving up earlier today. But wow, when that news came out, it was like an elevator just dropping straight to the ground, right? Now this is the day chart, and let's just take a look at the 5-minute chart right here. And here's the 5-minute chart, and you can see there it is, just dropping down, right? That's the full day right there of MSTY. Like I said, it was around that 1360 area, and then of course closing at 1298. So that's a little over 4% drop on MSTY. So just to really get a feel of what happened in the market, let's take a look at SPY. And here we are on SPY. I mean, look at this. That's a huge drop, guys. Because if I zoom in a little bit, you can see I had drawn my lines here, and this top line right here, that was the top of yesterday's high, right? So that's my first line. And then my red line here was the bottom of yesterday's low, right? So there's my range right there. Whenever I'm going to try to do a sold put on SPY, that's the first thing I set up. Then the second thing I set up is a more of a closer range right here, and that's these two white lines. And I'll zoom in on that, and you can see all I was doing was picking roughly the high and the low of a few candles back, right, before the market opened. So when I looked at it at about right here, right, the first thing in that morning here, I saw where this was kind of the bottom, so I drew that line. And then I just went back to find out where did it go as high as. It went as high as right here before it came back down. So that's how I drew that line, and that's how I drew that line. And that is my short-term high and low. Whereas the green and red is the yesterday's high and low. So as you can see here, we first came out and it was moving up, right? I mean, we came out opening around 671, right? And it just moved right on up. And we hit as high as 673.95 and then started coming down just a little bit, right? But we were still up on this upper end of this short-term high right here. And the point that I'm looking for whenever I'm going to look to sell a put would be at least below that midpoint here, which is this dotted yellow line. I prefer to get it when it hits the bottom of this red line down here or gets close to it, right? So that's what I was planning on doing. Well, I just happened to glance at the market at around this 11 o'clock mark, right? And all I'm seeing is this thing going from roughly that 672.87 being the open of that 11 o'clock. And keep in mind, this is just a 5-minute chart. And just on that 5-minute chart, it went as low as 667.66, right? So I pulled my app open and I went to go try to sell a put, right? Because it is just dropping hard right here. And it hit that previous support line from yesterday. And I thought, well, I'll be looking to sell a put. Well, it was dropping so fast, I couldn't even pick a strike that was out of the money, because by the time I went to it, that one was in the money, right? Because you look at it and the 669 was in the money, and then all of a sudden 668 was in the money, and then all of a sudden 667 was in the money, and it just kept on going. Well, by the time that I actually was able to get into it and set something up, it was probably around this area here. So it was sitting around that 665, 666 area. And I sold a 664 put, right? And it did come down and it executed. And I got about 80 bucks for it, right? 80 cents on the share for 100 shares. That's $80. And then it started moving up, right? And I thought, perfect, right? Got my contract for that put. And I'm feeling like I've done pretty good, right? Well, like I said, it was going up. And then all of a sudden, that next candle, it starts falling back down, right? Well, it's teetering right here. It's still sticking around this 665 area. Well, my put, be it at 664, I'm still pretty good. But this candle here, oh boy, watch this. So then it falls, right? And it busts through my 664. And then the next candle, it drops. And then the next candle, it drops. And now, at this point, you're sitting around 660. Well, I had that 664 put. So I'm just riding it out because I'm figuring, well, if I get assigned, so be it. I will look to sell that call next week, right? If I do get assigned, because then I'm watching it and it's moving back up and it's going back up to 664 here. And then all of a sudden it starts dropping again. And then it drops even more. It looks like it got as low here at this point about 657. Well, it wasn't done though, because it went back up, cooled off a little bit, and then started dropping even more. Even all the way up to the end of the trading day. My goodness, look at this. It went down and closed at 653.02. So my 664 is definitely getting assigned, right? So I now will have 100 shares of SPY at 664. But again, it is the S&P 500, so I'm not too worried about it. And all of this is, of course, off of that news. Now, that doesn't mean that it can't go down and stay down for a while, but I'm hoping that the market just overreacts up front and then starts moving back up eventually, right? Maybe sometime next week. That's my only hope, right? Because even after market, you can see it is still dropping, and it dropped as low as 646.20. Now, I will tell you, I also have VOO. I do day trading off of SPY because they offer daily contracts, right? Versus VOO does not have daily. They have weekly, but not daily. So I'll day trade SPY, but I like to buy shares and hold in VOO. And I have also sold puts and calls on VOO as well. But the SPY day trading thing is just something I was just trying out, right? So I now will have 100 shares at 664 and the current price being around 653. I'm definitely down, right? But like I said, it is the S&P 500, so I'm not too worried at all. Now, I could be holding it for a while, but holding the SPY is not a bad thing, in my opinion. But wow, that was just a crazy day today with this just fall. I mean, look at this fall. That's just one crazy fall. And that has happened. I mean, it just kept falling, right? Every time you thought it stopped, it kept falling. You think it's stopping, it falls some more. So on like VOO, I did end up buying a few shares here and there. So we'd have a drop, I'd buy a share, right? And I'd think, okay, well, there we go. And then it falls some more. Well, I ended up buying another share, right? Because we're down to $600 on VOO. This one here was up to $619 at one point, right? Now we're down to $600. So I am using this as a time to dollar cost average, of course, but that's not guaranteed that we're at the bottom. But just like SPY, VOO uses also the S&P 500. So for VOO, I have no problem holding that one forever. Same with SPY, but for SPY, I am looking to trade more options with it. So for SPY itself, I'm looking to get in and out of that one, right? So I'm in and out of it, doing a little swing trading, day trading on SPY. But of course, because of that, MSTY fell, right? And MSTY fell because Mr. fell. And Mr. fell because Bitcoin fell hard. Goodness gracious, look at this. This thing fell from a high of 122K down to a low of 108.4K. Good Lord, what a fall. Now, granted, it did come down all the way down to this 108 support line, right? Before coming back up some. And now it's sitting at about 112. But are we done falling? I don't know, guys. I don't know. We might be in for a little bit of a downturn. You'll probably see a lot of videos talking about the crash is coming and everything. And it may be, but nobody knows, right? We've seen before where we've had a drop and then it turned right around and we do a V-shaped recovery. And if you didn't buy, you missed out. But you cannot take that as a guarantee. But it could just keep on going down, right? So you don't know where the bottom is. So that's why it's always best to DCA in. And that's dollar cost average into your plays. And you can see right here on Alti, I mean, it too had a nice little drop, right? Everything pretty much dropped. We've got Nvidia dropping. I ended up buying a little bit more of Google because as you can see here on Google, if I turn on the Bollinger Band, we're at the bottom of that Bollinger Band on Google, and that RSI2 dropped below 10. It's at 4.5. So I took that and I bought some more shares of Google. And since we got the Bollinger Band on, I'm going to go back to VOO and just show you why I was dollar cost averaging into that one. Look at this. I mean, that's off the day chart, right? We got this big red candle dropping all the way down to the bottom of that Bollinger Band. That RSI2 is under 10, right? It's sitting at 5.69 and it closed at $600.51. So yeah, I bought some more shares for sure because I'm definitely long the S&P 500. Now, Nvidia, that one did drop, but technically it is still on the upper half of that Bollinger Band. And it did not necessarily drop below the 10 on the RSI. But for Mr., you can see that they are on the bottom side of that Bollinger Band. And the RSI2 did drop below 10. So I did purchase another couple shares of Mr. as well. So just to give you an idea, I made a lot of purchases today. And that's why I keep some cash just for the days like this. Now, I don't know if this is going to continue, but when the market gives you these times like this, and if you're long the market in general on some of these big companies, then I'm going to take the opportunity and buy shares. And just to give you an idea of what I mean, I did some purchasing today. I went through a good bit of money today, right? Here is a list of everything that I purchased just today. I have this AMD that when it was going up, I sold a call on it and it ended up getting up to close to my strike. So I rolled it up at that time from 250 to 260. But today it started dropping. So I ended up being able to roll it back from 260 back to 250. And each time I was earning premium. And I was getting roughly about 60 cents for doing that. Not too bad, right? Not too bad at all. But as you can see, I have a lot of purchases. Some of these are orders that have just been lingering out there. I had set them to good till cancel. And when the market started falling, then it started executing, right? Because as it was dropping, they were buying. Right? But wow, that is a lot of orders for me. But I'm still in the mindset that it's always better to buy and be invested than just to sit on your cash. But you've got to have cash available to buy when it does drop. So there's a fine line of how much cash do you have. And it's up to each individual of how much cash you like to hold on hand for days like this. But keeping in mind that sometimes days like this can last for a while. So you may be buying and a week from now, it could be down a good bit more and you may be out of money by that point. So then at that time, you're just riding the wave, right? You're just riding it on down and eventually it will level off and then head back up. because a lot of these that I'm in, I'm not worried about it because overall on the stock charts, they move up and to the right. So even if I have to hold them for a while, I'm not too worried. But when you see drops like this, it's really hard not to buy, right? I mean, do you agree with me there? How many of you out there actually made some purchases today on some of your stocks? It was just a rough day, but a good buy-in day in my opinion. So I think I'm going to wrap it up right there. Really just wanted to talk about that market drop and wondering, did you take advantage of that drop today? Or do you feel like it's going to come down a little bit more and you're going to wait until then? I know for me, I don't have that crystal ball, so I just went ahead and took advantage of that drop currently. So if you enjoyed this type of content, make sure to hit that like button. And if you're not already subscribed, hit that subscribe button too. Be much appreciated. And as always, I am not a financial advisor. This is not financial advice. Please do your own due diligence before you get into any stock plays. And until next time, stay strong and legend out.